Publisher Podcast, episode 102. Well, this is a fun episode today, geared mostly towards those of you writing transformational nonfiction or entrepreneurs who are writing a book to grow your business. But even if you're not writing in those two categories, I'm sure you'll find some great nuggets of wisdom as Lanette Pottle and I discuss the importance of accountability and having guidance through the writing and publishing and marketing process, and the importance of community through the process. I really enjoyed this conversation with Lanette, who is of very like mind with me on the importance of all of these things, and hope that you'll find some inspiration and encouragement through this interview as well. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Publisher Podcast, a place where you can come to get inspiration, motivation, help, encouragement, and support in your journey to write, publish, and sell your book. Hosted by Alexa Bigwarfe. 'Cause I've been where you've been, and I felt what you're feeling, and I don't want to get in your way. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Publish Her Podcast. I am really pleased to bring you my friend and colleague, Lanette Pottle. We are talking about a bunch of different things, including accountability and mindset awareness and guidance and mentorship through the self-publishing or publishing, writing, marketing, I guess, writing, publishing, selling process that we go through. So let me tell you a little bit about Lanette. She's not just a respected transformational book coach and publishing mentor. She's also dedicated to uplifting and empowering women. And I can tell you this for a fact. It's so funny. We were just chatting before recording this, and I was like, there's something about you that just makes me want to open my entire soul to you. So very uplifting and empowering women. Her guiding principle is reflected in the Mother Teresa quote, "You can do things I cannot. I can do things you cannot. Together we can do great things." That should be the motto of the women in publishing community, I believe, but how beautiful. She's in the business of helping women tap into their knowledge and wisdom, then translate it into compelling self-help, personal development, and business how-to books that make an impact. In the publishing arena, she's made her mark as a trusted guide and mentor. She's a a best-selling author, founder of Positivity Lady Press, creator of the She Gets Published brand, and has helped dozens of women become best-selling authors. She also has her own podcast, the She Gets Published podcast, which I've been a guest on a couple of times. It's a great podcast where she dives deep into topics offering warmth, wisdom, actionable advice. And she's been a guest on numerous other podcasts, including Hay House Radio, Authority Magazine. She's been a collaborator with notable names like Next Advisor and Time. She's appeared in Women's Day magazine. She's been spotlighted nationally on the television show The List, discussing how books create credibility. Wow, just wow. She also has a TEDx talk and has been on stage with the New York Times #1 bestseller, Jack Canfield. So as you can guess, her influence is far-reaching, even though she's just in a little teeny tiny town in Maine. I love how you put that, even just being in small town Maine. Well, welcome, Lanette.
Oh my God. I'm so happy to be here from my office in teeny tiny small town Maine.
I love it. Oh my gosh. You have your hands in a lot of pots, a lot of different things going on, but tell us about how you came to be in this arena and how working with women who are writing these transformational nonfiction books became your sweet spot, if you will.
Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like it's been a super long journey to getting here. It wasn't anything that I intentionally set out to do. Let's just say that right out from right from the get-go. Life has not been a straight line. And I was primarily working, my focus was in life and business strategy. I was working with entrepreneurs and coaches. And when the pandemic came about, the conversations that I was having with my clients and women in general was starting to shift. Yeah. And there was a lot of questions about like, oh, okay, you published your book. And, it was all this conversation around books in general. And it was just one of those, I talk about it in terms of like, just feeling like in flow. Sometimes some people will call it a pivot, but to me, it was just like this really natural flow of shifting my attention. Life and business strategy totally applies to books, but it's just that the book started to take the feature role
Yeah.
in the work that I was doing with women.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, when we were talking about what we should discuss, because obviously our conversation could go in so many ways, we wanted to really dig into the idea of that writing and publishing a book can be a very lonely endeavor. It can certainly be confusing. It can be a slow process, and goodness gracious, there can be so many mistakes made along the way, but also just from another piece of it, like there's just so many people out there pushing stuff on you and what's the right thing to do and what's the way to get it done properly and what marketing should I do and all these types of things. So you have founded a community where you help shepherd women through this process to kind of alleviate those all of those things. So why did you create this, and what's the core values or core beliefs of your program?
Well, I think in everything I do, like you mentioned in the intro, it is about empowering, uplifting and empowering. And the way that you do that, it's not like for me, I don't believe that it's a one size fits all. I don't think it's a blueprint per se. And that's what kind of, I think, makes me stand out from some of the other programs, is that there's a whole bag of tricks.
Yes.
It's about helping to guide you to find what is the best fit for you. And to know that what worked for me or what worked for Alexa might not be the thing that's going to work for you. But it doesn't mean that you need to flounder around and be out there watching 1,000 YouTube videos and downloading every freebie. Right? Our time is too precious. That is a belief. Like well-being is a core belief for me. It is this uplifting, empowering, and sharing our wisdom. My background, I come from a really disadvantaged background. I was a teenage mother. I was on welfare.
Wow.
Eviction notices. Like I went through the ringer. Like my 20s, late teens and 20s was a pretty tumultuous time. And through that time, I gained a lot of wisdom, but I wasn't necessarily the person that you would think, oh, I'm going to give this woman the opportunity to share her experience, because I was a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of labels. Through my growth process, I've realized that a lot of that was my own internal dialogue. It wasn't so much other people saying that as I was believing it about myself.
Right.
But to give that opportunity to anyone that's willing to step up and make the investment and wants to make an impact, to be able to do that. And I work a lot with entrepreneurs and coaches, because typically these are the types of people that have so much wisdom already, and they clearly are driven by making an impact. And it's just taking, like, packaging that up and helping them to get it out into the world in a different way, which is going to help elevate their influence, which in turn is just going to help them make a bigger impact. Like the ripple effect never ends.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, also a lot of pulling people together in different forms is the accountability, because there are so many people that want to write a book. I mean, obviously, we both serve communities of women and others who want to write a book, right? But actually writing a book and then getting that book done are two very, very different things. And it's not just, I mean, I have 57 books in my head that I want to write, that they've got in there, all of those things, but it takes accountability for me to actually get that done. So I'm in writers groups, I'm in my own mentorship program, I'm in different things that hold me accountable. But for busy women who are working their businesses and doing other things, would you agree that if they really are serious about getting a book done, especially one that's meant to be in the sphere of what their business is, that they have to have some sort of accountability program to get there?
Yeah. And sometimes the pushback on that is, right, these are high achieving women. They're getting a lot of stuff done. So why can't I apply those same principles to getting my book done? Mm. And in theory, that sounds good. But then you come up with all the emotional garbage that comes with writing a book, with any book.
Yes.
And so having someone to guide you and to help hold you, like, to get to the core of why is it that you want to write this book, and help you stay anchored into that, to remind you and to hold you accountable to your goals. Not like, it's not my goals. It's what is that woman's goals, and how can I help her stay true to that?
Yeah.
So accountability is really huge. It doesn't mean that you don't have self-discipline. It's not like if you're a high achiever, oh, I don't need this thing. Oh no. I'd say to the contrary, probably you're going to need it even more, because we can't see our own blind spots.
Yes. I'm glad you said I love your expression there, the emotional garbage that comes up with the books, because this is so true, whether you're writing a children's book, a memoir, a fiction book, or a nonfiction book, or transform, whatever it is. Like, there is so much stuff that comes along with that, the mindset in itself. I know through our communities, we spend a lot of time talking about mindset, because it can really, really make a difference in how you move forward. And it encompasses so much stuff, doesn't it? I mean, everything from imposter syndrome to just your own like beliefs on, am I really the expert, which kind of falls on imposter syndrome, but so much stuff in there. So what about, I know mindset awareness is a big thing for you too. So what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, I think it is always being aware of the stories that we're telling ourselves. It's interesting. One of the authors that I'm currently working with right now, we just had a conversation last night, and she had just turned in her final draft and she was feeling all the feels. And it's like, celebrate this, embrace this, and know that like you're going to remain on your growth edge, because the thing is about writing a book, that people don't necessarily think about it in this way, but writing a book, again, like you said, in whatever genre, whatever form that takes, writing a book is a personal growth journey. And the
Yes, it
first
is.
person it's going to impact is you.
You. So true.
So mindset's really important in the stories that you're telling yourself, and having somebody. I talk about it in terms of like borrowed belief. Like sometimes we can get all up in our head telling ourselves like, oh, like why would anybody listen to me? One woman said to me, well, I really want to write a book, but if my book is sitting beside Mel Robbins' book, why are they going to pick mine up? And it's like, why wouldn't she pick up both?
Right.
Right. It's not an either or, but so many of these things, it's a lifetime of messaging and the stories that we tell ourselves, that we, even the women that have done the deep personal work, when you get into a project like this, it's like, I can say firsthand, it is like interesting, the stuff that shows back up that you think that you've dealt with.
Yeah.
But it's there again, just in a new form. Isn't that lovely? So having somebody to help support you through that, and again, shining a spotlight on like the blind spots that you might not be able to see, that is a difference maker. That changes the game. And whether you actually finish the first draft, like, how many people don't even get through the first draft? They might start, but then they go in a spiral and never get across the finish line. And the thing is, like, people ask publishing advice, and that's great. But then you ask, like, do you have a finished manuscript? Well, no, not yet. Well, guess what? If you don't, that's the first step to publishing, is you have to, it can be total, like it can be a hot mess, but it has to be at least complete to some form. So no editor can help you if all that information is in your head.
Right.
Like you have your intellectual property, your lived experiences, your wisdom, like get it down in whatever form it is. And then it's about refining. Then it's about going back and editing, about bringing in a professional editor to help you kind of glue it all together. But that person is just elevating what you've put out on the page.
Right. It's so funny because I is just bringing up a lot of stuff that I was thinking about through different, not only my own books, but people I have worked with, and how much of it we get. I see almost the self-sabotage happening with people who are like putting themselves down this road instead of just writing the book, like all of a sudden attending all these conferences and webinars and learning all the things and doing this. And, oh, I just need to do this. And no, you just need to write the book. That's what you just need to do. But for those of us who are busy doing all kinds of other things, like it's really, really, really easy for other priorities to hop right in front of that if we don't have something guiding us to make sure that we do that. And guidance and mentorship is a big part of what both you and I do in both of our communities. And yes, sometimes, a lot of times actually, it requires an investment, a personal investment, a time investment, and a financial investment. One, so that you can get the tools that you need, but two, because we don't show up for free stuff. I see this on our webinars.
Yeah.
Many people, you can go in there and we'll have 1,000 people register for a webinar that maybe 200 people ever actually go and watch. But if you pay for something, you're more likely to show up. That's a whole different conversation, right? On the attached importance when something is charged versus free. But the guidance and the mentorship, like it's for me, it's as important as hiring a personal trainer if you decide you want to learn to work out correctly in the gym, right? To come into a program for guidance and mentorship. And I know you offer a mastermind where you work people through. I have a bunch of different programs as well. So let's take a moment to talk about your mastermind actually, and weaving in the guidance and mentorship piece to that.
Yeah. So I think the really critical part about guidance and mentorship is, yes, it's an investment, but it's an investment in shortening your timeline, number one.
Yes, amen.
Right? Because whoever you're, if it's an experienced person, for a mentor, that's someone that you want that's walked kind of a similar path to what you want to do, but they already know where the potholes are. They can help guide you. They can get you the most direct route. One of the ways in which I work with my clients is I do take a deep dive into like, what is your motivation? What are your goals around this book? Because the strategy we're going to take is going to be vastly different,
right,
based on what your goals are.
Right.
So we do that positioning, but in the mastermind, it's a small curated group of women, and it could be different industries, and everybody's working on their own projects. But what's similar is we're creating that community of like somebody else that gets like what you're going through. Right. So there's that support, there's camaraderie. And then I'm there to provide, I call it just in time information. So you don't need to be bothered. Like, we're going to take the deep dive. We're going to do the visioning. We're going to do all of that. And then you're going to learn like, what is just the next like 2 steps you need to take? What's directly in front of you and the next thing after that. And no, I've got your back. I'm going to keep you on track, but I don't want your mind to get full of like, there's a lot of steps. Let's face it. There's a crap ton of stuff to do.
Yeah.
In the writing, editing, publishing, and promoting process of a book. And rather than getting shut down by overwhelm because it just feels like too much, if you're working with a mentor that can just give you what you need when you need it, that in and of itself is going to cut down the timeline.
Yeah, I agree so much. I mean, in all of our community stuff, through the conference, through WIP school, through anything like that, just being able to show up and ask questions and have somebody say, this is the route, or this is the route, or this is the person, or this is the company, as opposed to back in the day when I spent hours and hours and hours reading every book, watching every webinar, reading every blog post, and quite honestly, making a lot of mistakes and a lot of incredibly costly mistakes because I didn't understand what I was doing in the process. So yes, that I love that the true guidance and mentorship will save you time, it will save you money, and it will save you from big mistakes. Not to say that you may not make mistakes, but I see that. I don't know about in your community. I see it a lot in my community. Unfortunately, people don't find us until after they paid $50,000 to somebody who never wrote a book for them, or after they paid a $25,000 program, who in fact still makes you do all the work yourself. They just teach you the steps, which for me, if I'm going to pay $25,000, I hope somebody else is doing a lot of the work for me, depending on what it is, right? Obviously, there's different types of communities, programs, masterminds, all of those things. But, so finding that mentorship and guidance once you've already made those mistakes is painful, but can get you back on the right track. But I don't know. It's, to me, the big piece of a lot of these is also the community. and having the resources and the people there who ask questions you may not know, that you didn't know the answers to the questions, even if you think you knew the answer, may trigger some ideas or things that you've never considered. And I'm a big fan of the hive mindset. I don't know everything. I am an expert in this field, but I do not know everything. And it's so fun to me, actually, when there are brand new people in our programs who come in and they talk about a tool we've never heard about, or they've tried something we've never done before, and that enriches the program as well too, and the community. But community for me is really the key piece of all of this. I know it's
Absolutely.
a big thing to you too.
Yeah. I mean, I think community is everything.
Yes.
It is everything. I truly believe that. And when you talked about questions, I know for myself, and I see this in others, is sometimes you hear something and it's like, oh my God, like that's so much value to me, but I didn't even know I had that question. Like I didn't even know I needed to ask that question,
Yes.
because we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's huge. And there are, it's a roller coaster ride.
Yes.
Writing a book, entrepreneurship, like this whole journey. Like I said, it's a personal growth, personal development journey, and it is a roller coaster ride. And I know for myself, like my husband is super supportive. He has not a clue about what I do for work. Um, he has no clue about writing books. He's not the person that I turn to when I need support or when I need to just talk through a problem, right? Just having somebody to listen. Oftentimes we have our own answers, but having somebody that gets what you're talking about
Yes.
allows you to help, you unearth your own solutions sometimes too.
Yes, 100%. Well, on that note, you let's talk about some of the programs that we have, because I mean, let's serve our community by telling them about what's available to them. So, what do you offer?
Well, my specialty is really more in that intimate, smaller space. So I do have the mastermind, and the mastermind works really good for women who who really want that personal touch, high touch, but maybe aren't able to invest at the level of personal one-on-one, like VIP strategy sessions or exclusive one-on-one coaching, like that whole process. So you get the best of me in this group container. So I do a lot of really one of the fun things that I love to do are 2-day strategy sessions, which is where we do it's the beginning. It's like the ideation, which idea, I've got 5 ideas, which is going to be the best idea. So we dig into audience and like, what are the goals and which is going to best serve the goal. And back to mindset, it's like everything doesn't have to go in one book. This is your first book.
Right.
So part of the process is also stripping away what doesn't belong in the book. We do organizing and structure, and really do what I call auto writing, an outline that is like such a killer outline. Your book practically writes itself, and you don't use AI. There's no AI in the process, but like, so I do those VIP sessions. I do the one-on-one strategy, and then the mastermind. That's kind of my suite of products. And then I do offer for those that maybe aren't at the place where they feel ready to invest, like, come get to know me on Instagram. I'm always providing value and knowledge over on Instagram. I have a newsletter, that kind of stuff too.
And of course, your podcast is a great resource.
Yes. I
Don't
love
forget
my
that.
podcast. Like what I love about that, and I'm sure you can say this too, like as a podcaster, so it goes back to community. I love being able to talk to really brilliant
Yeah.
women that are doing powerful things to help elevate other women, right? And to be able to have a platform to share this information and to introduce people to our networks. Like, don't you feel like sometimes I pitch myself? It's like, I know the coolest damn people. Like, I feel so blessed
I know.
that my network has grown. And then it's, for me, it's part of that. There's 525 people that live in my town.
Yeah.
I have served
That
women,
is a tiny town.
right? I have served women across the globe, and I have people in my network across the globe that enrich my life, and bringing them on the podcast is one way. Like, I feel like I'm able to share that and pull back the curtains to help people. So yeah, podcasting is just the best.
And I mean, it just, you never stop learning. And this industry, that's another reason why I think mentorship and coaching programs, things like your mastermind, things like WIP School, which is a monthly mentorship membership program, um, it, they're so important because this space changes all the time.
Yes.
The tools that are available, the hows, the bewares are a big thing. Like there's constantly just scams and garbage popping up all the time. The like what you should be doing. Like, for example, I mean, KDP just went and changed all their category process for us, and that changed and will really disrupt how people have been doing book launches and the bestseller types of things. I'm very curious to see. I don't know if you've launched a book since they changed it. We have not, so I haven't seen how it's really impacted the category situation.
I am deep in that right now. I have I have 2 books that are launching for clients in October, and so we're deep into category research and doing all that. Yeah, I mean it's a big deal. And one of my clients right now that is launching in October, she has a background in doing Facebook ads, and that's not what her book is about. But what made it great is I was able to relate, like, the publishing industry, like, it's going to help you understand, because it's going to feel in some ways very much like when you're in Facebook, like things are changing all the time. It's not a static type of thing. It's like you think you know it, and then it's like, okay, something's going to change. You have to be nimble, and having somebody to help guide you through those things is helps you from going into a tailspin.
Agreed. I mean, I mean, you just said Facebook ads, and like, that's the thing. Like, there's so many things. It's quite overwhelming, but yes. So community, get your support, find your people, do the things through all of those. So, oh, Lanette, we could talk for hours and hours and days and days. So we're going to make sure people know how to access your mastermind, which we'll have a link to that. And if it's not open cart, whenever you see this, there is a wait list. And whenever it comes open, if you get on that wait list, you'll see that. We'll make sure people have a link to your podcast. We'll make sure we have your Instagram stuff in there. And it's just Lanette Pottle, or are you under She Gets Published?
She gets published. Yep. She gets published. And with the mastermind, what I will say is when you click on the link, when you go to shegetspublished.com/mastermind, when you go there, you'll find all the information, but what you will not find is a buy now button. It is an application process because it's a curated group. I want to make sure that everyone's there is ready to be there, is, open and available for the process that's going to happen. So if it feels like maybe you're not quite ready, I'm going to be the first person to step up and say, hey, here's another option that might be better for you. And it might be, it might be with Alexa, it might be with somebody else in my network, but that's one of the values I think that we share very deeply. It's about getting people with the right resource at the right time.
100%. Totally agree. All right, Lanette. Well, thank you so much for coming and discussing all of this stuff with me. Make sure you go over and check out all of her things. Follow She Gets Published everywhere. Check out the link to her mastermind in the notes, which you can find over at the womenInPublishingSummit.com under the podcast tab. We have all of our show notes and information. And I just am excited again to have spent time with you. And it's always a pleasure.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I always enjoy it.
Have a great day. Thank you for joining us on the Publish Her Podcast. We hope to see you back for the next episode. Great, huge thanks goes to Jasmine Commerce for the use of her song. You can find Jasmine on SoundCloud. Go check out all of her music. We'll see you next time.